Hi, my name's Christina Hildebrand, and I'm the founder and president of A Voice for Choice Advocacy. We educate and advocate for informed choice and transparency of what goes into your body, be it food, air, water, pharmaceuticals, the whole lot. And today I wanted to talk about vaccine passports. So in July of last year, I put out a video that got a huge number of views that I basically said vaccine mandates were coming in December. And I don't think I was far from wrong. And in that piece, I said that they weren't going to be federally mandated, they weren't going to be state mandated, but they were going to be socially mandated. And I think that's where we've come to with these vaccine passports. So I wanted to talk today about vaccine passports and what they are and what we can do about them and what we need to do about them, because I do think if we do not put up a fight wherever you stand on the vaccine issue, if you don't put up a fight against vaccine passports, this world is close to a lost cause, because our freedoms, regardless of where you stand politically, our freedoms will be taken away with these vaccine passports, and I'll go through that. So first of all, what is a vaccine passport? So a vaccine passport is a usually digital device that has an app where you load onto it whether you've been vaccinated or not. It could also have whether you have a negative COVID test or not, whether you have antibodies to COVID or not. And for right now, they are just COVID related. But as you'll see from this video, I am extremely scared of where that can lead us, what path that can lead us down. So let's talk about a little bit, before we get into vaccine passports and why they're a bad thing, let's talk about what we know about the vaccine specifically, or what we don't know about the vaccine realistically is where I'm going with this. So number one, we don't know if the vaccine prevents transmission. So you can be vaccinated, but you could still give somebody else COVID because you're got COVID inside you, and you're breathing it out and you're transmitting it. Now it's unlikely if you're with another vaccinated person, but we have no idea what happens with all these variants. So it may be right now it is safe, but there may be a variant that comes along that it actually does transmit to people who are vaccinated. So we really don't know what that piece of the transmission means. Again, we also don't know, with all these variants, how long this vaccine is going to last. So we don't know the length of the immunity from the vaccine, especially with different variants. So some vaccines work for most variants that are out there right now, but there are some vaccines that don't work for some variants or don't work as well for some variants. We also don't understand how long immunity lasts. So we don't understand how long the vaccination allows immunity against COVID. And we also don't understand, if you've had COVID previously, how long that immunity lasts. So without those pieces of information, vaccine passports are actually null and void. Because while you can have a pass that says, yes, I'm vaccinated, or yes, I have had COVID and have antibodies, we don't actually know what that means at this point, or for how long it means that. So now let's look at why vaccine passports are a problem. You know, people will say, well, you know, it allows us to open the economy faster. If we know who's vaccinated, who's not, who's got immunity, who hasn't, we can open the economy so much faster. The benefits of that do not outweigh the risks of a vaccine passport, and I'm going to tell you why. And I also will say, the World Health Organization is against vaccine passports. The ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, is against vaccine passports. There was a long article in The Lancet, which is the British medical journal, that also said they were not a good idea. There are many reasons for that, and I'm going to go through those reasons. So the first main reason is for discrimination reasons. So once you class people as vaccinated or unvaccinated, immune, not immune, don't have COVID, have COVID, you are creating a tier system in society, and you are giving some people who qualify today privileges, and other people who don't qualify, you're discriminating against. And we need to ensure that discrimination does not happen. That discrimination comes from racial inequities, for example. So people of color are less likely to have gotten the vaccine at this point, be it for economic reasons, access reasons, or philosophical reasons that they don't want to get the vaccine. But there is inequity. If you look at the number of people in the US, in California where I am, if you look at the number of people that have gotten vaccinated, there absolutely is an inequity there. And these vaccine passports would drive that inequity further. And that's one of the key reasons that the WHO and the ACLU are against vaccine passports. We also have the issue that there's discrimination in these are just two examples. For example, 15% of the US doesn't have a smartphone. So what are they going to do when they want to go into a place, an establishment that's requiring a vaccine passport? Also, what are the medically exempt going to do? So there are many people who have been told by their doctors not to get the vaccine because it is not right for them to get the vaccine. Their risk of a vaccine injury is higher than their risk of avoiding COVID or getting COVID and having a reaction. And so they've been told not to. So the question then becomes on a vaccine passport, well, who do you put them with? Do you put them with the vaccinated, but they're not vaccinated, they're not immune in any way? Or do you put them with the unvaccinated who don't get the privileges, but these people couldn't be vaccinated? There isn't a real good answer to that, is where I'm going with it. The other one is if people have religious or philosophical issues with the vaccine, what happens to them? If you don't allow them into places, then you're also discriminating against them. So those are the key discrimination areas. The other areas that come up are really tenets of our Constitution. So one of them is medical privacy, which, why should I have to tell you what my vaccine status is? That's actually private medical information. You wouldn't ask me if I had HIV to go into a concert. So why do I have to tell you whether I'm vaccinated or not? Why do I have to tell you if I had COVID or not in order to get into a concert or some other arena? So there's medical privacy, and there's also, under the Disabilities Act, you actually can't ask somebody about their medical issues that creates a disability for them. And while not getting a vaccine may not create a disability, it's I think there's an argument there under the same tenet of our Constitution. And the other piece under our Constitution is freedom of movement. So our Constitution specifically says that we can cross state lines, we are free to travel, we are free to move. And one of the places that this vaccine passport is looking to be implemented is travel. And when you get on a plane, when you get off a plane, when you come into a state, when you leave a state and go to the next state. So that's another place that's really constitutionally here in the US goes against our Constitution. So those are the key reasons to be against a vaccine passport. And as I said, it doesn't matter whether you believe in vaccines or not. This is a fundamental constitutional right that we have to travel, to medical privacy, to lack of discrimination. And the vaccine passports just set us up for all of that. And they set us up for even more. And that's what I'm really concerned with, is the slippery slope that we get into if businesses and organizations and airlines and everyone else starts demanding vaccine passports and proof of vaccination or proof of immunity or proof of a negative COVID test. Because once you go down that road, there is a slippery, slippery slope. The question really is, where does it stop? Because it does not stop. Okay, we still live with the 9/11 TSA restrictions. You still can't carry more than 3 ounces onto a plane. You still have to take your shoes off at the screening. If we go down this route of vaccine passports, the possibility of ending up where China is with a social credit score, where you can get your app turned red in an instant because you did something that someone didn't like, is 100% there. And anyone who says, oh, the US would never get there, just look at where our civil liberties have gone from last year to this year. and where we stand right now. And we have lost so much. And so, there are some people that say this is the hill to die on. This is absolutely a hill. And we need to make a decision. Do we go with vaccine passports and we go to what I call the middle of 1984 and a brave new world? Or do we stop this madness and stop it in its tracks? And that's what we need to do. Because otherwise, what happens when you are all gung-ho about your vaccine passport today and the Democrats are in office and you think this is great and yep, everything works fine and you're getting into your restaurants and your concerts and your baseball games and anywhere else. And then the Republicans get in and they've decided, well, anyone who voted or gave money to this elected official, they're now, your little pass is no longer green. It's red. And you can't get in anywhere. And you can't do anything to make it green. And suddenly you're ostracized. So while you may think you're in the green right now, we have no idea what happens in 4 years' time, or in 8 years' time, or in 12 years' time. And so we have to stop this now. One other thing that I should come back to is, we also know that the government has access to everything. The NSA has access to everything. If you think the NSA doesn't have access to your email, to your computer, to your phone, to your everything, they do. There's no hiding, unless you are truly on some, very, very secure platform, which, many of us have looked into that and going there. But for the most part, most of us still have a cell phone, still have a computer that is not on the highest security. Now we may converse over high security platforms, but for the most part, there's something about you that has the ability of being tracked. And so you have to realize that this pass, if you're downloading it to your phone or to your computer, that it will have access by the government. And they will be able to access it on the back end without you even knowing. So, to say, and people will say, I'm sure people will watch this and be like, oh, she's just conspiracy theory. She's just conspiracy theory. Go out there and look at what your apps do. All of this technology is there. It's not new technology. All of the technology is there. If you don't think your phone can be traced, you're living 50 years ago, okay? Your phone absolutely can be traced. If you log on to the Wi-Fi anywhere, you can be traced. So, what do we need to do? Because I am one that I actually waited on this video a few days because I needed to work out what can we do. Because a lot of people have come out and said no to vaccine passports, say no to vaccine passports. But what can you actually do to stop this? And that's where I've got action. If you know me, I don't do anything without a solution. So, A Voice for Choice Advocacy has a platform that we use that allows you to send letters to your elected officials. It's really, really super easy. We have put together, A Voice for Choice Advocacy has put together a letter outlining basically what I said in this video, the issues with vaccine passports and the concerns with vaccine passports. And that not only can vaccine passports, they can't just be, it can't be like California where our governor is saying, oh, we're not going to implement vaccine passports. But then says, well, in order to get into a concert, you have to either show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. Well, that's basically implementing vaccine passports. Whatever mechanism that looks like, that's a vaccine passport. So, not only does your state have to say vaccine passports are not going to be implemented, they also have to do what Florida has done and a few other states have done, which is to ban organizations, businesses from demanding vaccine compliance or showing your vaccine records or showing a negative test. So that is the ultimate piece of this, because the whole right to refuse, which we have in California for the vaccine issue for school, which is, well, if you don't want to vaccinate, the kid doesn't have to go to school. They can be homeschooled. There's another option. For you to say, oh, you don't need to use vaccine passports. You just can't go to the concert you want to go to. That's not good enough. The concert can't demand your vaccine records. That's the key piece of this. So, A Voice for Choice Advocacy has a letter that outlines everything that I've said and states what needs to happen. And then we also have a link that you can go onto, and you can just, you put in your name and address, and you can choose from one of 4 letters. Choose the one that works for you best. You can also edit it if you want to. And by clicking on that, it automatically sends to your governor and to your state representatives. And that action, if a lot of people do that, if you take that action, then there will be change, and then there will be a no on vaccine passports. But unless we all take a stand on this, and again, this is not the vaccine issue. It doesn't matter where you stand on vaccines. It doesn't matter where you stand on COVID. It doesn't matter, because your rights are being taken away. Every single person in this country, your rights are being taken away if we allow businesses to require vaccine passports, including the airlines, if we require vaccine passports to be used. So, thank you, take action, say no to vaccine passports, and we can do this together. Thank you.